figured time to do another Spaces. We can talk a little bit about whatever, of course. Talking Florida. College football playoff, SEC, 9 games. Deron Wilson getting hired. Will Harris on the way out. A few things to talk about. But, of course, I did Spaces when they first came out. Did them for a while. But then launched Gators Breakdown Plus and kind of just kept that type of conversation there. But try to create more content out there for everybody. Guys can hop in. Any questions you can kind of lead this to. That's kind of what this is. I'll have some topics maybe picked out, but first time doing it on desktop, so we'll see how that goes. But so that question I was going to ask a lot of you out there, should be some good feedback or whatever. Do you feel different about Florida from the Gasparilla Bowl, the end of the season, that 4-game winning streak to now? Got spring practice starting in a couple of weeks. So we've had a couple months. Had some signing day, had transfer portal. Feel any different? Do you feel the same? I know the OC talk out there was really hot the last couple of, last few weeks. So certainly, I know that's probably got a lot to do with the feelings. But I assume this works the same way as it used to. If somebody see some comment, I don't know, somebody raise their hand on. I guess they have to raise your hand, I guess, and then I'll let you in. I guess it works the same way as it used to. See Soderquist in here. Ryan from Gators Breakdown Plus. Soderquist, can you hop in? Let me see if it works. Can you request to speak or whatever? Let me see if that works that way. It's the same way as it used to. But I know I put a scare in some people. I put the little space gif out there, and that got there we go. Ryan, yeah. Okay, there we go.
There we go. You hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Not now, Dave. I'm in the shower, man.
I didn't know this was an option on desktop now. It makes it a whole lot easier with the podcast. You don't have to go through the phone and stuff.
Yeah, they changed a lot since they first started them. They got a soundboard and everything now, too.
Yeah, I used to have to go, I used to have to route so many ways to get it to record and stuff back in, that was 2020, 2021. We used to have some good conversations. I remember, when Mullen got fired and Napier looked like the guy, we had the Rage and Review guys come in here through the space. That's what a lot of people got excited about Billy Napier. But kind of going back to earlier, if you were on Gators Breakdown Plus, I did throw up a poll. I was like, hey, would you guys be fans of me doing Spaces again? And it was about 60-40 in favor of trying this again. So certainly don't want to not do stuff on Gators Breakdown Plus, but they knew this was coming. So when I put out the space GIF earlier, people mistakenly people took that for the portal. And I didn't even think about it that way. I see where you got it now, but it did not cross my mind that people would think portal with that. But as somebody said, I probably should have known better. So I guess so.
Yeah.
I thought you were just a Star Trek fan.
You should know when you tweet out a GIF, man, people are going to start.
I probably should have known better. Forgive me on this one, everybody. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to alarm. I have not heard anything to do with transfer portal. Somebody did jokingly say that DJ Lagway to the portal. So
Yeah, well, the weather's been in the portal this week, so.
Tell me about it. It took my 20-minute drive to work this morning took me an hour, so it was not fun.
Well, all right, I'm gonna get down from here. I was just gonna listen.
Yeah. Thanks for
so.
and you made sure it worked. So I know you guys got your show tonight, so go have fun.
Yeah, I gotta prep for that. I'll sit back and listen to.
Yeah. So, Ryan's in, but yeah, if anybody else, we've kind of discussed this a bit on Gators Breakdown Plus and the Discord chats we have there. So if you want to have more of those, you can join there. But do you feel different about Florida from the end of the season? I think arrow was green, trending up at the end of the season. Got those 4 wins, feeling better about yourself as a fan, and where this program was headed, or maybe not. I don't want to speak for everybody. I don't know if the full 4 games, as far as overall record goes, didn't sway everybody, but I think did enough to at least make us feel better about the end of last season and maybe where things are headed. But as I said, kind of going to earlier, I know the OC caucuses kind of dominated, and there was some thought at the end of the season that, hey, Billy Napier might hire an offensive coordinator. And I guess if you thought that happened, you were kind of waiting for that. And when it didn't happen, that maybe it subdued your positivity, your mojo in the offseason. But you guys can hop in. Did it change for you? Did it not change for you? Do you feel better than you did? That might be a rare take if you feel better. Because I think you play that last game of the season and you automatically just say, okay, you look toward next year. And look, with the way bowl games are, you kind of look toward the next year pretty soon anyway. But with I guess the things that have happened, has this offseason made you feel better than when the 2024 season ended and Florida goes on that win streak? I think I feel about the same.
Yeah, we talked about this in your Discord, but I think the end of the season was a really, like as Will likes to say on your show, was a deposit for Napier. But then the real lack of, portal and just the lack of really doing anything since then, and then that you throw on top of not really making any changes for offensive coordinator, play calling. I'm like you. I'm just status quo. It is what it is. And it's a tough schedule next year. And so it's going to be really hard to, play the same way that we did last year with the same amount of talent, just coming back with more of the same and expecting different results, if you get what I'm trying to say. Not a lot of upgrades other than just relying on experience.
Yeah, and I guess with a young roster that can make a difference. If it is a lot of the same pieces, like with the way Sapp and Banks broke out at the end of the year, I think they probably haven't reached their ceiling. Obviously, on offense, I don't think any Lagway, Ball, the you playmakers, you get those back. Expect those guys to be even better in year 2. Being true freshmen, where you do want experience and not a lot of new faces, offensive line. I think that's certainly a plus, and that's just, I think, just an area. I asked Napier about that, with those guys coming back, and that being an area where you don't want to have to hit the portal if you don't want to. And, Florida didn't. We thought, right tackle, they probably could. There wasn't a ton of options in the transfer portal to hit that. And you weren't really going to have a facelift on the offensive line. Thankfully, 4 or 5 coming back. Jake Slaughter, the All-American, coming back. And that doesn't mean this group is set now. Honestly, obviously, that group's got to take a step forward. But with 4 or 5 coming back, I think the step forward is more likely than if some guys had left and you're trying to fit in new pieces to the transfer portal. I think if a step and if development is going to be your calling card for this offensive line and this offensive line staff, then having 4 or 5 coming back as starters, that should lend itself to an improvement. How much, I don't know. That probably is the question. I think there will be improvement. Will that improvement be enough on the offensive line? But I think with 4 or 5 coming back, it marks for some improvement. And then wide receiver, I think that's the biggest question for the offense for me. Of course, is how does Sturdivant settle in? Can he replicate the transfer portal success of a Ricky Pearsall and Elijah Badger and Chimere Dike? Can Wilson come back healthy? Can Mizell be that third receiver? Can he break through of being the reliable receiver to go along with? I think if you look at a top 3, and no, Ryan, we had spoke on this on Gators Breakdown Plus, it definitely is your starting 3 going into spring. I imagine would be Sturdivant, Wilson, and Mizell. So that should be, but that is still the question, because you're going to need more than those 3 guys too. So all the first year guys from last year, your freshmen coming in with Brown and Wilson, you certainly got to get more out of TJ Abrams and Tank Hawkins, and we'll see what Nashawn Montgomery does as a true freshman. I mean, there's a lot of names I think we like, but beyond those top 3, a lot of guys got to step up if Florida wants some depth at that position.
Yeah, that's going to be the fighting injuries. That's going to be hopefully we don't go through it like we did last year, especially on the defensive side. But I think I'm actually more worried about the offense than I am the defense, which is weird considering we have DJ Lagway and the way our defense has looked. Over the last 4 years, under Mullen and under Napier up until the last, second half of last year. But it just feels like you said, we're good where we need to be good on the defense, and we've got the talent there at least. Depth is always going to be an issue, but I think we're pretty solid defensive line in the second, in the linebacker. I would like to have seen a little more action in the secondary, just 'cause I think we're going to need a couple more bodies back there. But yeah,
boy, that's so important this spring, because I've mentioned it a lot, and I mentioned it with, of course, Deron Wilson getting hired and kind of putting out piece out on Twitter of just the injuries Florida has at the cornerback spot, and that's what he's walking into this room. And you've got your guys who are probably you're counting on as your starters in Dijon Johnson and Devin Moore. They're going to be nursing some injuries. So how available will they be? Sharif Denson nursing. Will he be back? Aaron Gates, we know he won't be back. So there's a lot of injury questions, and some young guys and some second-year players. Cormani McClain, of course, third year overall, but his second year at Florida. I mean, that position group there at corner, spring is going to be ever so important for that group, and figuring out who can provide some depth when your presumed starters come back. Maybe they'll be limited, somewhat in spring, but Napier mentioned it in his signing day press conference day. Yeah, they are going to be kind of on the cautious side of the cornerback room during spring practice.
Yeah, I can't blame them.
Can we get one healthy season out of Devin Moore, please?
Yeah, we've been wanting for that for 4 years now. Just saying, if he would just be if he'd be healthy for a whole year, he'd be a lockdown corner. But who knows? We just can't get it. But yeah, I'm hoping we attack the portal. I use that with air quotes, by the way. But we need more depth in secondary, I think. I would like to see us try to get a couple more guys if possible.
Oh, yeah, I saw somebody raise their hand, but this is not the same as it used to be. I guess that's if somebody was trying to get in and speak, but they don't see a request. I just saw the hand raise.
Come on, guys, don't be shy.
Yeah. First time I've done this in a while. But it is interesting, we go about some of the news, of course, Deron Wilson, Will Harris going to Miami and all the NFL. Yeah, is he going to the NFL? Is he not going to the NFL? Deron Wilson, Miami hasn't made their official announcement. Harris is there. Florida hasn't made the announcement that Deron Wilson's here. So pretty interesting there that we don't have the announcements of the cornerback carousel. All right, there we go. A couple more people in. Quintessential.
What's up, Dave?
Long time no see.
What's going on, man? How you been?
I've been good.
That's good, brother. Yeah, I got a question for you. It's not related to football.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to appreciate what our basketball has been doing with number 2 in the country right now.
Yeah. I was in the O Dome last night for that one.
I just think we get so consumed with football that we don't appreciate this basketball run we're on. But I want to know what you think we could potentially win the national championship this year in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, besides the Missouri game, that's your only blemish. You say maybe a game that you shouldn't have lost, but when you look at how Florida has played and who they have beaten, yeah. No, I mean, look, it's hard in the SEC to go win on the road. I think we have seen that play out when teams come to the O-Dome. We saw that when Florida went to Tennessee. What Florida did to go to Auburn and beat Auburn the way they did, that right there, I think, if you had any doubt before that, it should have been erased then. So yeah, right. I think this and I've been hammering the drum for the last couple of weeks. We are completely finding out how deep this team is. I think deeper than we thought they were when the season started. And I think you got somewhat fortunate that the injuries happened when they happened and they weren't that serious. And that allows you to find depth. That allows you to give guys more minutes. And I mean, Denzel Aberdeen, I mean, I've been a fan of him anyway, but when he had to show up, he did show up. And not only, just went out there and put some minutes up, he went out there and made plays and put points on the board. And it's just, I think it unearthed the last couple of weeks just how good he can be. Because I think we knew he was a good player, but he was coming off the bench and his minutes were limited. I think we found out that he's a pretty darn good player in his own right now.
Right. Yeah, he's really good. And I just think, man, like we're on a crazy run right now. And I think this team can win the national championship. I don't really see too many teams out there as deep as us. Like our guard play is exceptional. Our defense is exceptional. And like I just think, I'm wondering, does this they're totally unrelated, but do you think this kind of like expedite things as far as like making it seem as if like the football need to catch up with basketball, or how do you feel about that? Like you think that's like, because the last time we was good at football, we was good at basketball,
yeah,
and vice versa. So I'm wondering, like, do you think that's a correlation there? Like, you think Billy and everybody, those guys, watch the basketball team and like, hey, like, you need to bring it along faster because these guys are, the championship level run.
I mean, you hope that's, you hope it doesn't take something like that, honestly. But hey, if it helps, it helps. I mean, look, I do remember Urban Meyer and that group in 2006 talking about, hey, we saw what that basketball team did, and it kind of did feed a fire a little bit. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past for something like that to be the case again. Like I hope it wouldn't take something like that. Now, whether the basketball team was, at 500 right now, I'd hope the football team would have the same mindset. But hey, if it helps, it helps. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just hope it wouldn't take something like that for football to take the next step, for football to be more hungry or anything like that. It's just, go do your thing. Go do your thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm just hoping football catches up with the basketball. They see what they're doing and they know that they can go out there and potentially do something.
Yeah, we talked about that on the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord today. It was, hey, maybe history repeats itself. You go get a basketball title, maybe it kind of does bleed over a little bit, and we have a nice little run, and we can include baseball this time as well.
Yeah, baseball, softball looks good, man. We look good all around, man.
Yeah,
we look good in every sport right now. But yeah. But I'm glad. I just want to like shine a little light on our basketball team, man. We're playing some great basketball.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't want to talk basketball or the other sports there. It's just for me, it's I put so much time and effort into football season that I use this time of year to spend extra time with the family, all that stuff. I still, believe me, you can ask Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. I still watch basketball. I still watch baseball.
Sure.
I'm in those chat rooms, talking those games when those games are happening. But to have to dedicate that much time, when I have a family, I know the full-time job, So, and also it's fun to just be a fan with some of those sports too,
absolutely.
Not for me to dive in so deep as I do football and my passion there for football. Sometimes I can just sit back, relax, and watch a game and not have to, get all crazy about it like I do football. So, but certainly.
Hey, let me ask you this though, Dave. One more question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the basketball team is getting enough like national media attention?
I think they are now. I do. I think going back to the Auburn game, I think they did then. And I had no problem Florida not being number one after. I know they beat number one. They beat number one on their court. I go back to the Missouri game. It's a game you probably shouldn't have lost. Auburn's only losses are Duke and Florida. Nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, if Florida was number one, fine. But I still have no problem with Auburn being number one right now either. But yeah, I think after every game for the last 2 weeks now, if you go on Twitter and you see what these national people are saying, hey, Florida's the number one seed. Florida's the national seed. Florida, this team's going to be in the Final Four. I do think you're starting to see it a whole lot more now. And you're starting to see Todd Golden on a lot of national podcasts and all that stuff. So yeah, I think everybody's starting to take notice now. And part of it too is because Florida's just beating the brakes off of people right now.
Yeah. They killing people right now, like defensively and just I don't know, man. Their team is special, man. We're deep, and it's a special team. I think it's a championship caliber team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was fun being in the O-Dome last night. I mean, you can certainly feel it too. There's just a palpable excitement around this team. So.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you get back to talking ball. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for hopping in, man.
Sometime if you stop at these, I'll stop in and hang out with you. Definitely.
Sounds good, man.
I appreciate you.
So another thing when I did these, and a lot of people did like it back in the day, is not letting everybody in at one time, because you start getting everybody talking on top of each other, and you can't understand what somebody's saying, and so I kind of control it a little bit. But we'll see. I know a lot of. Go ahead, One Way. I see you in here, man.
What's good, Dave?
Hey, man. What's up?
How you doing on this Wednesday night? My question to you is, do you feel like Florida is in a good place as far as returning starters with some of the top teams?
Oh, it's like you read my mind. I got a big research project going on right now with returning starters. I teased it the other day in the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord, but I am going through Florida and Florida's opponents and comparing returning production. And I don't mean in the way of transfer portal as well. I mean, if you played for your team last year, so if you're a Lagway, a Jaden Ball, if you're Pup Howard and Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp, that's what I'm counting. I'm not counting Sturdivant coming in. I'm not counting freshmen coming in. Of course, they don't count as returning production. But a lot of the other metrics out there will count the transfers as returning production. But I'm only counting if you played in that uniform the year before. So I got a few more teams to go. That should be an episode I put out probably next week or so. But first of all, the hardest thing is for Florida and Georgia and Texas, I can go through, and how I'm doing this is I'm going through the top 20 players on PFF per snap count. So your top 20 offensive players and your top 20 defensive players. So that cuts out, people who really didn't contribute a whole lot. If injuries happened, oh well. But it's for most of your contributors that played last year. So first of all, it's finding out who's still on the team for some of the other ones. Most of the time I can go through and look your big names, of course, but if it was a offensive guard look, I don't know every team out there like I know Florida, so I got to go out there and make sure that guy's not coming back next year. But I got to do that for all, for about 10 other teams. Like I said, a few of them were kind of easy. I could just go down and do them, but some of the other schools don't have the rosters memorized. But look, I know Ole Miss is losing a whole lot. We all know that. We know Texas is losing some in key areas. I know who's losing Florida. Georgia's losing a good bit. So, but for Florida, yeah, I mean, Lagway, Ball, I mentioned 4 to 5 offensive linemen. Trey Wilson coming back from injury. He's still included in the top 20 as far as snap count went for Florida. Sapp and Banks, the linebacker core for Florida. Secondary, I think, we'll go fighting some injuries, but guys who played a lot of football last year. So, yeah, I think as far as returning production goes and looking at Florida, I think in key spots you got it. And I think that's where I'd circle it first as far as offensive line and defensive line goes. But certainly receiver, edge, all that stuff, certainly are some areas Florida's got to, but as far as returning production goes, kind of bounce back a little bit.
Okay, I got one more question because I hear a lot as far as this tough schedule. Do you feel like it's more evened out a little this season?
Oh, that's a good one. At LSU, we know it's going to be tough. At Texas A&M, that game's in October, so I think it depends on just where they're at that point of the season, of maybe how hard on the road that game would be. I mean, it's going to be a tough game anyway. In College Station, but if they're rolling at that point, maybe it's a little bit harder. I like the way it ends with Tennessee and FSU at home. The last 2 games of the season. I think when you look at it, there's some plus and minuses to it, especially when you compare it to last year's schedule. You don't have as brutal as a November as it looked at one time for last year. And Florida really stood up and beat LSU and Ole Miss at home. But yeah, I think you catch. It depends on how. I think Florida State's going to be an improved team than they were last year. It's going to be hard to be that bad again, but how good they will be, I think, is still in question. Getting Kentucky after Georgia is a bit of a break. You don't follow up. You don't have Georgia and Texas back to back. You don't have the 2 best teams in the SEC back to back like you did last year. So I think you catch a break there. A bit. You're at Ole Miss, but this might be the year to be at Ole Miss. And, they'll be picking up the pieces from last year's team, probably still good, but replacing a ton from this past year's team. I think in some ways you can look at it and say, hey, look, it's going to be pretty tough again, maybe on par. But I think there's it's probably about the same, honestly. Well, I mean, we'll see how it turns out. Maybe Ole Miss didn't live up to expectations last year. Maybe certainly FSU didn't live up to expectations last year. Maybe LSU wasn't as good as some people thought. So when I look at the schedule, to me, it's about pockets, and it's about back-to-back games. You got the pocket of LSU and Ole Miss, or LSU and Miami back-to-back, Texas A&M back-to-back, and then to end the season, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State back-to-back. So to me, it's about little pockets of the schedule.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hopping in. What's up, rookie?
Hey, Dave. I just had a curious question. I'm not in Gainesville right now. I'm out working in New Orleans. I just want to know what the overall vibe around Gainesville is right now with all the success with all our other programs going on in the football off season.
I'm in Jacksonville, so I'm not, in Gainesville day to day or anything. But like I said, was on campus, last night or yesterday for the basketball game. I already talked about that, and there's certainly an energy there. Baseball, softball, that was mentioned earlier too. I mean, the spring sports, certainly Florida in the top 10 in both those sports as well right now. Those go far, and there's a lot of support for that. But we all know Florida's a football school, and I know some people say, in everything school, and certainly in a lot of angles, Florida is that everything school. But we know it's rolling when football's rolling. So I do think that 4-game winning streak at the end of the year, you've got one of, if not the most popular quarterback in the country on your roster. So I think that adds a whole lot to it. Having that signal caller, having number 2 on the field is going to bring a lot of eyeballs for this team. So I do think there is a good bit of excitement of where this team is and where the sports programs are right now. And I know, Scott Strickland gets a whole lot of criticism and rightfully so in a whole lot of ways. And a lot's going to be weighted on football like it should be at the University of Florida. So the way basketball is rolling right now, man, I think that's certainly has taken a lot of rightful attention away from football in some ways. And hey, look, we know there's a passion for basketball. There has been for quite some time at Florida. But I think when you're rolling like this in basketball, it's a good thing. There's a lot of eyeballs on the orange and blue right now. And I think, with spring practice just around the corner, I do think there's an excitement all around in your 2 biggest sports, the way you ended the season in football, and it kind of just bled over into this basketball season right now. There's a lot of good vibes in Gainesville.
All right. Thank you, Dave. That's pretty much what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anything else? That's fine.
No, that's pretty much it.
All right,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for hopping in. One more topic. We have about 30 minutes right now. And it fascinates me with the whole college football playoff and going to 14 or 16 teams. And I mean, we knew 12 wasn't going to last long. We all knew that. But the fallout not be 9 SEC games, which I am absolutely for. I would love 9 SEC games. That's only probably going to happen if the SEC gets their way, which they should, and get those 4 auto bids. And the Big Ten gets their 4 auto bids, and then we'll see if it's a 14 or a 16, and we'll see how the rest of it follows suit. But you're probably looking at 2 in the Big 12, 2 in the ACC, and then we'll figure out however many at-larges there are based on 14 or 16 teams. But I am a big fan of 9 conference games and seeing how it would play out. There's a lot of, as we know it better than anybody from last year and probably this year as well. There's a scheduling imbalance right now. I do think one more conference game would help that in kind of balancing the schedule for the rest of the conference right now. And I think you just need it with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. And if it was to stay at 8 games, it might be years, which it already was in the old format. It might be years before Florida and Auburn play. If we didn't play South Carolina this past year, how many years would it be before Florida and South Carolina would play again? So I think when you're in a conference, you need to play your conference teams. 9 games is the way to go. To me, it's more good football. And if you get those auto bids, I think that's going to be better out of conference games as well, because it's going to be about your conference play and getting those, getting in that top 4 of your conference. So I do think, an out of conference loss won't hurt you. I think an out-of-conference win, if you're going against Ohio State, if you're going against Michigan, if you're going against Penn State, you get an out-of-conference win, I think it can help your overall seeding when it comes to the however many teams it's going to be. But a loss isn't going to doom you, but a win can certainly help you in the end. So I think, look, I was not a fan of expansion, still not a fan of expansion, but I do think adding it this way might help it in some ways. Me being against expansion and saying 16 teams is better than 12 might sound counterintuitive, but I think if they can do it in a way where I think another conversation that I really like about this is fixing conference championship weekend. And then I've seen the conversation out there. To me, the best way to do that and put more eyeballs and emphasis and importance on that conference championship weekend is get rid of your traditional conference championship. Get rid of your top, right? How it was last year, 1 and 2, but old way, East and West. If you got 4 spots in your conference, give your top team and your second team a bye. And then what it might look like is you just kind of have a conference championship weekend or a play-in weekend. So this past year, Georgia, Texas, all right, you're in the playoff. That's 2 of the SEC spots right there. The other two are going to be determined by Tennessee playing Ole Miss and Alabama playing South Carolina. Winning those two games, you're going to the playoff. You're going to have your own little mini playoff going into the playoff. I think that would make conference championship pretty exciting. It would put importance on the regular season to get those first two, so you can get your auto bid, but you don't have to play conference championship weekend. I think it added a lot of importance to the regular season and conference championship week. So yeah, weird that, hey, I hate 12, but I might like 16 more. But I think if you break it out that way, I think that'd be fun. If you got some thoughts on that, hop back in. So who did I let in? Juan. Rookie, go ahead. I think you might have.
How you doing, Dave?
What's up, man?
Finally, good to talk to you, man.
Yeah.
I was just looking at Shane and Mike. They do the SEC podcast, and they had the production numbers for like receiving yards, returning OL starters and all that stuff. And I don't know if they included transfers or whatnot, but in Florida looked like they in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna give the numbers because I'm gonna let you do that because that's your thing, man.
Yeah, mine's gonna be a little bit different. You know, like I said, what I'm gonna do, I'm using PFF to kind of go along and take snap counts into account, and that's how I'm gonna do it. Then I'm gonna take that average grade for the returning players and see what average grade of quarterback and offensive line and all that is coming back for teams. So I'm going to go about it a little bit different way, but I did see a chart out there, and Florida was like dead center as far as returning production. But I do think they were counting transfers as well.
Okay. I was just looking, but I see them like for the like OL and then the receiving yards or whatnot. I mean, yeah, you're right. They was in like dead center for that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as everything else, it looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, for offense, it's probably going to be pretty balanced because you got a lot returning at offensive line, but not a whole lot returning at wide receiver.
Right.
So
now I do got a question about that right now.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you got it already in your mind. But who do you feel is going to be the breakout player as far as returning receivers go this upcoming season?
It might be too easy to go this route, but it's got to be Mizell, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's got to be. We saw flashes last year. I saw, it's so funny because somebody shared the highlight of the stupid block that was called against Montreal that took back Mizell's long touchdown against Mississippi State, and there was a crackback block that should have never been called or whatever it was, something like that. But we saw the glimpses of Mizell. We saw the big touchdown versus Georgia, the big bomb from Lagway to Mizell, and puts Florida up. So, it's he's got to be the guy that if we're picking a guy to break out, and that is certainly going to be a topic, in the next couple of weeks as we count down to spring football in a couple of weeks. Breakout players is going to be one. I was going to pick one on each side of the ball. I'll leave defense for that episode, but Mizell was going to be my guy on offense. That has to, for himself, he needs to break out. But for this offense, I think he needs to as well.
Me too. How you what you think about Dallas Wilson that now? Because he gonna be playing that outside. What YZ?
Yeah. Yep. And, hey, the good thing about that is too, with Florida going and getting somebody like Sturdivant, you don't have to force Dallas Wilson to be that guy right away.
Right.
He has to earn it. And I think that's kind of the way the staff has worked anyway. I feel pretty good about the way they have used their freshmen, and it's especially at running back. We saw it with ETN and we saw it with, at receiver with Trey Wilson. We saw it last year with Jaden Ball, both those positions, more so running back. But we saw it with Trey Wilson a couple of years ago. If you've proven that you can go out there and be a playmaker, you're going to get the ball. But with Sturdivant coming in, Florida doesn't have to go force a Dallas Wilson out there. If you see Dallas Wilson early in a game, and you see him getting a whole lot of snaps, if Sturdivant's who we think he can be, well, then Dallas Wilson went out there and earned it. He went out there, spring practice, fall camp, that, hey, he really turned heads, and he deserves some reps. He deserves some balls thrown his way. So I think that's going to be, Mizell in that same situation. I think when you start looking at outside receivers, if you see Dallas Wilson out there pretty early, it's going to be a good sign for Florida, because that means he put that together, in spring, in fall camp, to go out there and prove that he needs the ball in his hands.
You think he can have maybe a type of impact that like a DJ Moore or maybe a Jeremiah Smith?
Man, I don't want to take anything away from Jeremiah Smith. So that's not a shot at Dallas Wilson, but what that kid did was special. So, that's me more propping up Jeremiah Smith, not me downing Dallas Wilson or anything like that. What type of player he is special. That's hard to replicate.
But you do believe, like, having Sturdivant and we still got Khalil.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Probably help speed up the process.
I mean, it should. I mean, if you see him out there, that means he had to go prove it. He had to go beat those guys to get on the field. They're not going to give it to him. So if you see him out there, I think it's a good sign.
Right. I appreciate you, Dave. Hey, when I be in your comments, if I'm just going off about height and weight and stuff, don't even pay me no mind. Don't even pay me no mind.
You talking about
Dave.
YouTube? You talking about YouTube?
Hey, but I've been following you for 3 years, and I enjoy your show. And I'm glad you started Spaces again.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I mean,
I definitely tune in whenever when you up and going.
Sounds good. Okay.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for hopping in. All right, what else we got here? Nikki Baby Gator hopping in.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, I have a question to ask you.
Yeah, what's up?
No, because I watch you all the time in Jacksonville, because I live right in 20 minutes away from you.
Okay.
What do you think about our commit we got today? The CJ Ingram, whatever his name is.
Oh,
have you looked at him?
Basketball? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We thought there was a time where he might be a football commit too. So,
yeah.
Yeah, but
I didn't know that.
He played quarterback there with his dad, but also certainly was a basketball commit at the same time. And when it was first thought, it was thought for football. But then the more we got along, it was like, okay, he might be a better basketball player, and he's going to be concentrating on basketball. Certainly not following in his dad's footsteps, trying to play both at Florida. That was a time. But yeah, I mean, it's a good sign that he stuck with Florida. And the thing is, it wasn't really going to be a surprise. He was way before he even committed. Way before he signed, we knew he was leaning Florida for so long. So certainly glad to have, in a way, following his father's footsteps and coming to Florida and playing for Florida, but not going to be the dual sport guys. But yeah, certainly glad to have it done and put the final touches on it.
And then another question: have you looked at a new volleyball coach or no?
No, I haven't.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to ask you for observation. What's your think of him, and then for
that I wouldn't even
recruiting.
I wouldn't even know.
Okay,
I'll be honest.
I appreciate it, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for hopping in. One way, did you put your hand back? I couldn't tell if the hand raise has just been there the whole time or not.
No, I just raised it again.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna ask, man, how good do you think the kid James gonna be next season for us, Cameron?
I like what he showed last year. In his time, I think he's going to be one of those players. I think they're with Sapp. Go give Sapp, give Sapp a breather. There at that would be the edge F spot. There with the edge with the hand in the dirt. I'm excited for him. I thought he showed some good things last year. I thought if I remember off the top of my head, I think PFF was pretty high on him as well. Not the end all be all, but if you want another route to look at there. But to me, it's certainly, can you be that guy when Tyreek Sapp needs a breather, where you can kind of keep up the same level of production, or thereabouts. Tyreek Sapp, he showed those last 4 games of the season was something that's going to be hard to replicate, maybe even for himself, but for somebody like Cam James. But yeah, man, just that edge spot, just in general. And LJ McCray is another player. I think Cam James, LJ McCray, both those guys are going to have to step up their game. Justice Boone on the way out. So now you got these young guys that need to step up in their second years, but also that stand up edge spot and that jack spot. George Gums, another one of those guys who just kind of put it together, and we saw the playmaking ability of him those last 4 games. But he's about it at that stand-up spot that we saw. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I asked Billy Napier about it when he was on the podcast a few weeks ago. And it was good to hear, because I think we knew that these guys had that capability. But Billy Napier just came out and said, hey, guys like Pup Howard, guys like Aaron Childs, of who we are thinking more so inside linebackers, that they might slide outside. They might be that jack in certain pass rush situations. So you don't have to just count on George Gums and Kofi Asari, the transfer. Florida might get creative. You might see a Pup Howard. You might see an Aaron Childs at that edge rush spot. And I know that was talked about when Pup transferred from South Carolina to Florida, if he would be more of an edge guy, more of a jack spot. But I was like, no. I'll talk to enough people. Pup's going to be inside. But he does have that capability. So it's like Florida might get creative, put him in that spot. And then when people saw Aaron Childs on the field last year and when the season ended, who could help out at edge, and his name came up there as well. And then Billy Napier says it in the interview a few weeks ago. So Florida's got Florida's may have to get creative. We thought they might hit transfer portal even more so. Might bring in 2 edge players to go along with Kofi Asari. One more with him. But it does seem like Florida might get creative with some of the guys they already have for that edge spot. So I like the potential of that group when you have a Cam James and an LJ McCray together as young guys in that F spot. But certainly don't want to overlook the jack spot as well, and what Billy Napier says they could do with some other players.
Okay, my last question, because you just mentioned the kid, but McCray kid, if we don't go and grab another D lineman, do you think he'll fit in well there? Because I think we recruited him for, like, out of high school, he was like the number 1 D lineman.
Yep.
Do you think he'll play well there if it did come to something like that?
I mean, you would certainly. He's got the pedigree. I mean, you're looking for your blue chips, your high 5-star guys, and LJ McCray is one of those. So you certainly hope that you would see it by year 2. Look, if you don't see a guy break out in year 1, that is not the end of the world. Most guys don't. So even your 5-stars, even your highly rated freshmen, it may take to that second year. He's going to have more opportunity, as we say. Florida does need help there. Florida does need more proven playmakers there. So as we hit spring football in a couple of weeks, you're going to be looking for somebody like LJ McCray. He's going to be another guy that in certain situations I can see him standing up as well, but mostly probably a hand in the dirt, that edge F spot to go along with Sapp and James. But I do think they might get creative with him as well. I mean, I remember it was probably about a year ago, I had Jacob LaFrance on a Florida Victorious event, and he kind of just really spearheaded LJ McCray and the versatility that he brings to the table, and how they could stand him up, how they could have his hand in the dirt. So with, if Florida finds themselves in spring practice where they need another guy that can stand up, he might be that guy more so than Pup Howard, more so than Aaron Childs, that they, and look, it's going to all be certain situations as well. There were times when Florida's defense was really finding their footing last year when you saw Searcy and Pyburn and Cam James and Moore. You had a lot of pass rush specialists on the field in third downs. And, it wasn't you could tell Florida was bringing in guys to get after the quarterback. So I ain't gonna be surprised if you see a Cam James and an LJ McCray and George Gumbs all out there together in a 3rd and 8 situation. So I do think if LJ McCray can take the necessary steps to be that guy, you'll see there's going to be plenty of opportunity for him to be out there and rush that passer.
Appreciate that, man. Hey, and just on the part you said, fans tend to think it's the end of the world when a player not doing what they expect of them. And I've seen that a lot this season. And outside of that, who would you say on the offensive side of the ball, if you was Lagway, you go to target? What would you say our safety blanket in this offense?
Oh, that's a good one. Safety blanket. You caught me there. That's a good one. I thought Jaden Ball showed some things with the ball in his hands as a pass catcher too. So he might be your safety blanket dump off. If Lagway doesn't want to take off and run, wants to get the ball out of his hands. But Jaden Ball is probably going to be the guy. I'd say in that situation. Now, maybe as the season plays along, and he gets some more of a rapport with Sturdivant or Troy Wilson. I could see it being one of those guys too. But if you're asking me in spring and a young player being able to show what he was able to do as a receiver at the running back position as well, I'd probably go Jaden Ball.
Appreciate that, man. I was more so thinking about Hayden. I thought Hayden would be that safety guy.
Yeah,
over the middle.
Yeah, and you look for tight ends to be that. So that did cross my mind because some people do kind of label tight ends as a safety blanket, but yeah, I mean that'd be a fine answer too.
What's your thoughts there, just on the tight end room?
Oh, certainly want to see what Amir does. Kind of that pass catcher, more in that pass catching role. We're going to be a big spring for him. But, like I said, going back to guys, you don't have to show out in your true freshman year to eventually show out. You don't have to be a superstar your freshman year. So certainly at that tight end spot, looking for him too. But I thought Livingston did some nice things as the season went on last year. And there was a time, where I go back to that drive against LSU, and it might have been the play before Jaden Ball had the big run, but it was a pass to Hayden Hansen for about 20 yards down the middle of the field. So certainly, getting the tight ends more involved with Lagway, I think probably a point of emphasis as the Gators hit the practice field this spring.
I don't want to be quick to judge, right? And I'm not knocking on Hansen, but I felt like just from a little bit I did see out of Livingston, I thought he would be the more flashy one.
That's probably by design, if they're on the field at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like if we get him the ball in space,
yeah,
and kind of like spread him out, like he's gonna be that one that eat up a lot of yards.
All right, let's see. Get a couple more in here, and then I will call it. What's up, Jeremy? I think I put you in here.
Hey,
Yeah,
Dave,
What's
how you
good?
doing, sir?
Yeah, man, what's up?
Not a whole lot.
Day to day, what's good with it, buddy?
What's up, man?
Glad to glad you didn't start the space, man. You got to do this more often, Dave.
Okay. Like I said, man, a few years ago, I did it a whole bunch. So yeah, I'll come back around to it.
Straight up, man. How you doing tonight? First of all,
doing good.
Okay. A little later on the conversation, what all y'all was talking about, David? As far as just the upcoming season, the off season, what?
Jeremy, I'll come back around to you in a second.
It just took my turn, dude.
Oh, my bad, Jeremy. I didn't. Look, I can't do my brother like that. Go with it, Jeremy. Then I'll go after you, brother.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Yeah, Dave, I just want to know what your who would you look for as a freshman on each side of the ball this year to maybe break out?
Oh, that's a good one. Spring practice coming up. That certainly be a topic. I've got to go. I got to go to the positions. I don't want to take the easy way out and just look at the top of the rankings for the class, but I think you kind of have to, because at wide receiver you got Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, Nashawn Montgomery, Tunkari coming in, because I think you need help at receiver. So I'm not going to be surprised if it's Vernell, not if it's Dallas Wilson, Nashawn Montgomery. All those three guys rank pretty high at the spot, and I think there's plenty of position at receiver for a young guy to come in and make an impact. So I think if you look at receiver and you go to defensive back on defense, I think we know there's probably some room in that defensive backfield, especially with spring and as many injuries as Florida's fighting as they start spring practice that they have to overcome. So I think a guy like Ben Hanks at corner, he's going to get every opportunity this spring to shoot up that depth chart, because there's a lot of injuries at that cornerback spot. So he's going to get more reps. There's more opportunity for him. So I'm not looking at those guys because they were at the top of the class, but they're at the top of the class at positions that I do think Florida has some maneuverability with, where young guys really can come in and make an impact.
Appreciate that, Dave. Hey, and another thing, are y'all tailgating again this year and how y'all did last year?
Every home game Saturday, my friend.
See you next year, big guy.
All right, man. Maybe we'll be there for spring game too. Now, if you're there, I think we will.
Too far to drive just for practice.
I hear you.
You done, Jeremy?
Hey, you didn't care the first time anyway. But go ahead, big guy. You got it.
Appreciate it, brother. Okay, Dave. I wanted to, I looked at some of your videos, but I just want to get your personal opinion about the secondary coach. How you feeling about the room now with adding him and Sincere?
I mean, good thing. The good thing is a lot of people on the roster know him because he was here in 2022. So he quality control with the cornerbacks. So he knows a lot of the guys that were on the roster because he helped recruit. He helped sign if they signed with Florida. But somebody like Cormani McLean, he knows him, knows the name because he had been around. So that's good. There's some familiarity there. But at the same time, he went into Arkansas in year one and had I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but produced an all-SEC freshman in his first year as cornerbacks coach at Arkansas. He got hurt at the beginning of last year. They had some transfers, so the pass defense overall at Arkansas kind of fell down a little bit. So I think there's some things to like, but you pair that with Bala and you pair that with Sincere, and there's just not a whole lot of P4, P5 experience with those three guys together. Now they all come from power programs now, the other two from Washington and Wilson from Arkansas. But beyond his past couple of years, they didn't have a lot of coaching experience at the top level. So, you do have the overseer in Ron Roberts, who brings a ton and a bunch of years of experience, and Chapman, who was at Florida last year. Wasn't a lot of experience in his game either, and Florida really got better as the season went on up front. So, but I guess my biggest worry would be pairing him with some other young coaches when it's all said and done. So, doesn't mean it won't work or anything like that. But if I had a concern, that would be my concern. Okay.
All right. And my next one was, David, how big was it, just being able to have Ron Roberts back with having a young coach, like people say, that's the first thing they say about how young they are. And I just feel like having like a veteran like Ron, like he pretty much can help with all that. You know what I'm saying?
The biggest thing is it's the first time Napier's had a returning defensive coordinator. That's the biggest thing.
Right,
unfortunately.
right.
Yeah.
And year 4, right. It's the first time ever we didn't have the same DC.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, from Tony to Armstrong, from Armstrong to Roberts, now Roberts to Roberts. So it's the first time, since Napier's been here that it's going to be the same head voice heading up that defense. So that should be a plus, given what we saw. This defense get better after that first bye week last year, figured some things out and really put together a, last month to remember those last 4 games. One of the best defenses in the country in that last 4-game stretch, getting after the quarterback, creating turnovers. But there's another step. You got to get off to a better start this year. Can't have that slow start, and maybe even more so. While that defense was good and did a lot of good things, maybe even get past that bend don't break mentality. You'd like to have a dominant defense where you don't necessarily have to rely on that bend don't break. You don't have to rely on, all right, it's time to buckle down in the red zone. Because that can come out if you're playing some better offenses. Don't get me wrong. LSU's offense was good. Ole Miss's offense was one of the best offenses out there, and they clamped down. But can you ask a bend don't break defense to do that game in, game out, week in, week out? It worked for a 4-game stretch. But FSU's offense, not much to write home about. A Tulane offense that was missing their quarterback, you did what you were supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. You get credit for that. But if you were playing LSU and Ole Miss and you played those 2 games 6 more times in the season to get 12 games, can you really ask your defense to be that successful in a bend don't break way? So I just like to see when you got some key pieces coming back up front. Your linebacker core really, really good. So you got a good front 7. Just this defense take another step where you don't have to be so bend don't break.
I totally agree with that, David. And I was just going to talk about that, but you already brought it up in your answer as well. Like, as far as that bend but don't break, I think that's the only thing that that just rubbed me wrong with this defense. I love it. I love this defense. I love how far they come, but it's just like when we in 3rd down and long. Get off the field, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, just get off the field. Like, them converting 10+ yards, to get first down, they're just unacceptable, man. Like, unacceptable at all. Like, I think that's one thing that they got to clamp on this year, brother, is that bend but don't break. Like you said, they got to be stopped and stop it. Not giving them field. Then when they get to the red zone, then we clamp down. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, I say, like, that's probably the only thing about this defense, David, is I just want to see them get better better at, because they
it was a smart play last year, because we all know you go back to Miami, you go back to Texas A&M, and it was big play after big play after big play. So you had to adjust in some way, some form, some fashion, and they said, all right, we'll play too high, and you just ain't gonna beat us deep. And the big plays really got limited after that. So it was just their style of play that really fit that defense. But you do hope that this defense can take a step where you can mix it up a bit more, and you don't have to play that bend don't break style so much.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that one. As far as the cornerback room, David, how you feeling about our front line? I know we got Devin Moore. But who and Dejon? Who is your next after those 2 right there, Dave?
A
little too early.
Probably. I would love to say Cormani.
Okay.
I would love. I don't know yet. I don't know if he's fully ready to I guess quote unquote cornerback 3. That is a good. I have thought about that. Now I'm not counting nickel. Sharif Denson, Aaron Gates. Right. Yeah. Grimsley. We got to see how he bounces back from his ACL revision. Teddy Foster in his 2nd year. I'll go back to. I was talking about it a while ago. I think corner is a spot a true freshman can really come in, and if he's ready, can make some plays. So, I'm not going to totally throw away Ben Hanks coming in and making an immediate impact.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, man. See, and that's probably like the only place I say, David, I love the whole defense in the front line, but that secondary right there, that's what we really got to figure it out, David.
Oh yeah, that's
really got to figure that out.
That is the spot. That is the spot. Devin Moore got to stay healthy.
And this is last year, so it's like, come on, bro. Like,
money year.
But David, I ain't gonna hog up your mic, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Dropping the space for Gator Nation, man.
Yeah, I'll do this some more. Yeah, I'm glad you guys, hopped in and let me know how much you liked it. A little over an hour here, so I will sign off. Sorry if you guys requested to get in, but don't want to make it too long. I'm going to turn this into probably a podcast episode out there for everybody else. But I'll do this more. I don't know if I don't know if I'll have a set night and we do it at the same time, or if it'd just be out of the blue. I know this one kind of was. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But spring practice coming up as well, so schedule will kind of be changing. I think most practices for Florida are like Thursdays, Saturdays, or something like that. With spring practice rolls around March the 6th, so about 3 weeks away for the Gators on the field there. So everybody, thanks for hopping in this space. Glad to get it going again. We'll do it some more, and that'll do it.